My name is Patrick Mehaffy, and I'm writing Clayton Younger.
I am Annie Liu, and I am the production manager of the Santa Fe Playhouse, and I am editing Clayton Younger.
I'm Scott Harrison. I'm the artistic director with Ironweed Productions and also playing Clayton.
My working life has been in the studio alone, so working with other people is a real joy. Scott and I work really well together because we have in the past. We have a kind of shorthand, and now Annie's part of that process.
What was wonderful is the initiative that Patrick and Scott took and how Annie just picked up the ball and ran with it. You know, it was birthed out of the Shelter and Play series that Kent Kirkpatrick kind of named, and we wanted to engage the community.
It came out of something that the Playhouse created, and then we started working together. It just had this really exciting, warm, collective, generous feeling about it, which has made the whole creative process really, really rewarding.
It's been interesting to kind of collaborate and build a world together all virtually. Like, we haven't gotten in a room together until today.
Patrick will send pieces, and a particular one that feels like, yeah, this is the right next one. It just kind of emerges.
I'll get emails, but if anyone really wants to talk to me, they'll call me. And so I also feel like I've made 2 new friends, with Patrick and Scott.
We all kind of just bounce these things back and forth. Oh, what do you think this? How does this look? And amongst the 5 of us, David and Robyn as well, and end up coming up with something like, yeah, this looks really cool. So initially with Shelter and Plays, it was in color. And then this, Annie, through just came up with this idea and gave us different options around this black and white idea, which Patrick had been musing on.
I sent little test clips out, and then we ended up going with the black and white look with this kind of high contrast, very white whites and black blacks. And I think that it really supports Scott's performance of Clayton.
The whole look of it was something that that Annie experimented with, and it's just such a cool part of it.
So I was able to kind of play with a lot of different color palettes and different kind of vintagey vibes, and with this gritty Western feel.
A video piece or film piece is written 3 times: when it's written, when it's shot, and when it's edited. And that's very much true in terms of finding the story and the best way to tell it.
It's been really interesting to kind of see it all be birthed out of a giant email thread.
There's no chronology, and I don't think in telling one's life story, we don't think of our own lives chronologically. We think of episodes that relate to where we are at the moment. And I think that's what Clayton does.
There's all these different pieces of his life, but they all feel like they're in the same reservoir of who this person is, which is really neat to experience.
Cliff swallows build their mud nests up under my portal every summer. Our summers are getting hotter and drier. And dry summers mean not enough insects to feed all the hatchlings in the nest. When that happens, cliff swallows have to choose one young bird to save. To feed that one, they push the others from the nest. Survival of one is survival of the species. All the baby birds on the ground bring snakes. Red racers, gopher snakes, rattlesnakes. Slim, not the smartest dog I ever had, has been snake bit more times than I can count. And still, you just can't leave those snakes alone. So I pick the hatchlings up off the ground, try to save the ones that survived the fall. Last summer, that was 2. What I do is soak some of Slim's dry food in water till it's soggy, then just shove it in the hatchlings' mouths. It don't take them long to catch on. Soon they are eating everything in front of them. When Hannah was in Santa Fe buying for the cafe, out or get mealworms from the pet store. It's as close as I know how to get to what the cliff swallows naturally feed on. By late June, they're flying around the house. I wanted them to see what the world looked like before I turned them loose in it. I especially wanted them to know what kind of birds they were. So I got the old bird cage out of the barn, and every morning, after I fed them up on bugs, I'd put them in a cage, hang it up outside under the portal near all the cliff swallow nests. Afternoons, I'd bring them back inside, feed them again, let them fly free around the house to get strong. Come August, they would have to migrate with the other swallows from Kamado to somewhere in Argentina. That's about a 5,000-mile trip for something that weighs less than an ounce. Anyway, when I thought they were ready to let loose, I took the cage up to the ridge behind the house. I took them out, one in each hand. I held my arms out and opened my hands. They fluttered up, found their wings, and flew circles around me, dropping close to land on my shoulder the way they had in the house. But I waved them off, and so they kept circling. All the adult swallows from under my portal were lined up on the telephone wire that run to the house, still as a painting. Witnesses to my intrusion on the natural order of things. After a few more circles, my cliff swallows flew off to my right, then turned and headed for the swallow nation waiting on the telephone line. But before they got there, a sharp-shinned hawk dropped out of an empty sky. There was a puff of feathers, and then only one swallow headed for the wire. Swallows on the line scattered like leaves in a dust devil. The one I had released is somewhere among them. And that was it. Nobody said living on this earth was easy. At least not to me. They didn't.
Who is Clayton Younger?
That's a good question, and it's interesting. It's one, too, that I also don't want to answer too much, because the cool thing about what Patrick writes is it can resonate in different ways with different people.
He's experienced, he's thoughtful. I think he's very empathetic because his life has showed him that life is not easy for a lot of people.
He also has this gritty, wry wisdom that he has cultivated over a life of a lot of living.
Has a very great sense of humor, sees a lot of human foibles and laughs at them, including his own.
And there's a lot of paradoxes about him, a lot of interesting surprises.
Who is Clayton Younger?
He's Clayton Younger. You know, I first came to Keimalu to see the lightning fields with a friend from the Art Institute. Yeah, she hated the desert. Hated it. Said that if she survived, she would never again go any further west than O'Hare. But I loved everything about this place. The land, the light, the quiet, even the isolation. I had never felt so at home. You know, Clayton says that one of our tasks in life is finding where we belong. And I had. So when I got back to Chicago, I quit my job at the Institute, sold everything, and came back to stay. 2 days after I bought this place, I found Clayton on the front porch with a 6-pack of beer. Now, I had never met him. You know, I had seen him around town, and I knew he was my neighbor. "You must enjoy your own company," he said to me. "Moving out to the middle of nowhere all alone." Well, I told him. I guess that's what I came here to find out. He gave me that sly smile. And I made dinner, and that was it. You know, Clayton and Joe Parker are regulars of the cafe. They like to come in after the lunch crowd. Crowd being a relative word in a town with less than 200 souls. I still call it the cafe. And that's how it started, you know, but I was going broke fast selling migas and coffee, so I had to switch gears. Now we're a used bookstore with good food and some vintage home things. Yeah, most of my sales are to the lightning field people. You know, a couple days out of that house, and a lot of them have read everything they brought. Clayton thinks my used books are his private library. He'll find a book on the shelf that he likes, take it home, and then return it when he's finished. And then him and Joe will sit at the counter and argue about it. Oh, but when Clayton finds a book that he thinks is just too awful to be on the shelf, it'll disappear. Last week, I found The Bridges of Madison County in the recycling bin. But you didn't ask me why I came to Keimalu, did you? No, you asked why the word bitch was spray painted on the front window of the cafe. Well, as Clayton would say, any story worth telling is worth starting at the beginning. I'm also playing Hannah in the Confessions of Clayton Younger. Does she have a last name? Her name's Hannah. My name's Robyn Rikoon, and
Last name, yeah.
Okay, I'm kind of new in it. I'm like the new kid on the block, so.
I feel like we all really have our own like creative agency in this, and we're all very supportive of one another's ideas and visions.
I don't know how Scott has just done it so seamlessly that it feels like he was just born to be in front of the camera in this way. Like, he's really developed such a great relationship to the camera and with the person who he's confessing to.
Obviously, when you're doing a play, you're doing it in front of an audience. But with this, it's literally by myself on my porch. My wife's asleep. So I'm literally out there completely by myself.
It's almost like having a dialogue with yourself. And then I get to send it off to Patrick. And then I'm like hungry for the notes. Because it's like, oh, finally somebody else is like, this is real.
There's almost no real structure to it, but not like in a chaotic way like you would imagine. It's like a very natural process.
It's just this very peaceful dynamic that, and you just feel like you can be totally present.
Yeah, I think I'm still kind of finding out who Hannah is, but she's a wonderful woman. I've been enjoying exploring her because she has so much fortitude. She loves the desert, she loves her community, and the rest I'm still discovering.